to another episode of Inside Eastern Utah. I am Scotty Draper, and we are here today with Carbon County Commissioner Jake Mellor. Thank you for joining us today, Jake.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Some exciting things to talk about, some interesting things going on in the county right now. You and the other commissioners recently met with the governor of the state of Utah to talk about economic development and a strategy for our area. Can you tell us a bit about how that meeting came about and what it entailed?
You know, Scotty, it was an exciting meeting. And the governor has been meeting with all of these counties across rural Utah. And our turn was just a little bit ago. We met with him and members of his staff, members of Economic Development, World Trade Center, and a few other important individuals. What we expected from the meeting was to have, at a maximum an hour with the governor to lay out our plan, what we're doing, and how we could partner with the state to help make it happen, so to speak.
So did you have a presentation ready, kind of a plan to present to him, and then it was a brainstorming session? How did it work once you guys were all together?
You know, here in Carbon County, we've been working on an economic plan for a little while. And we've had visioning workshops, we've had business owners where we've met with individually and in a group setting. We've had a consulting firm, Lewis, Birmingham and Young, who actually helped us put together and compile a 76-page economic plan for our area that details a lot of different things. When we sat down with the governor, though, of course, we knew that perhaps 76 pages might be a little much.
Yes.
So we presented an executive summary.
Okay.
And in that executive summary, we had 10 or so individuals from our area that could represent businesses, that could represent economic development, that would help speak to the different items that we had on our small agenda.
And I know there has been some maybe questions throughout the community, what's happening with economic development with the county as a whole, because there have been some changes in terms of budget. You guys have had to reevaluate and readjust. So what is it really going to look like going forward? What does this plan consist of? How is economic development going to work for the county now? Can you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely touch on that. So economic development and travel and tourism, those departments at the county level will be combined. However, economic development here in the county is more than just county government. We have economic development that is being driven by Association of Local Governments, by the cities, by Small Business Development Center, by other facets of the university, and you've got various other groups here in the community that also drive different parts of economic development. So in a new developer or consulting firm that'll be helping us with the travel and tourism and economic development here in the county, we're looking for someone that can be a liaison between the different entities and help everyone be on the same page so that we can have a combined front for economic development and travel and tourism here in Carbon County.
That sounds like a great plan. Now, touch a bit on this summary you guys came up with. What does the plan look like? What are the goals? What are you guys looking to do?
First of all, let me talk about who was there.
Okay.
A little bit more. We had Phil Blackburn, who's CEO of Intermountain Electronics.
Yes.
And it's very exciting because they might be hiring a lot of people in the next 10 or so years.
Really?
But depending on what the state of Utah does and depending on what we do here in our local community to help them grow their workforce, well, they might hire them here, they might hire them in other states that make it easier for them to hire people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that having him there and emphasize the importance of growing locally our own workforce, instead of exporting all of our kids. Currently our statistics are only 11 to 14% of our high school graduates stay here. And so those people who actually graduate high school that stay here, we're missing out on a lot of talent with everybody that we're exporting. So how do we get them interested in the local employers? How do we bring about an awareness of what we have here locally as far as job opportunities?
And I think there has been a lot of work within the school district and the university. It's called Pathways, if I'm correct. And this is all about training early and getting kids interested and qualified as young as possible so that when they graduate, they can either move right into jobs or they can move right into furthering their education in these areas of workforce that we have. So can you speak to that while we're on this subject?
Definitely. In fact, you touched on a very important point. Nobody from Carbon County has ever sat on the state board for Department of Workforce Services until I got appointed, and it's a governor's appointment.
Yes.
The reason I accepted that appointment was because we have this problem. You know, we're exporting all of our kids. And how do we, as you mentioned, get them excited earlier on and get these career pathways established?
Yes.
So now that I'm on the state Department of Workforce Services Development Board, I've also been fortunate enough to chair the Career Pathways Committee for the state. That means I've been able to see what Cache County is doing, I've been able to see what Salt Lake County is doing, I've been able to see what all these other areas are doing with career pathways and how we can implement that here locally. And so I've had numerous conversations with state officials and with local individuals such as Joe Peterson, Chancellor Joe Peterson, and Gary Strackwadine, and the principals at the high schools, trying to get on a combined front so that we can make changes in our curriculum as far down as the 7th grade. As far down as the 7th grade, so that people say if they want to be an engineer, they're taking those math classes that they need to, so that as a junior and senior in high school, they can be on track to get a bachelor's degree in engineering from Logan or from another university, but they can have all their prerequisites and everything taken care of, and it'll be a streamlined approach. And a number of other things. Locally, we do have a pathway that has been working very well with nursing. And just recently, Pinnacle received a substantial amount of money to further implement into their educational system so that they can actually graduate with associate's degrees and be on a streamlined approach to be employed by people at the hospital and other employers locally.
That's fantastic. So these students are often graduating with certificates or even associate degrees, and they're on track, because while we say 100 jobs, that's great. But if we don't have the trained workforce, 100 jobs might not be 100 jobs for people that already live here. It might be having to bring in or outsourcing those jobs. So,
you know, we have a lot of people here currently who are unemployed, and getting them employed, and then having the demand be great enough that we have to hire from outside of the area. That's the goal that we have here, is to grow the area, to build the workforce, and to make sure that they're educated and trained so that the employers looking for that specific talent or skill can find it here locally.
Yes, so that was obviously an important part to the plan and what Phil brought to the table. Sorry to get so far off track. Who else was involved in this meeting?
We had Troy McKinley from Revolution Fuels. Now, this is really exciting. Not too long ago, I guess it's been about 2 years now, they had a meeting out in Wellington talking about this coal to liquids process, and it was super exciting. It got delayed. We have, maybe 3 or 4 members here in the community of the Sierra Club, and they petitioned and had the Sierra Club write a 70-page letter that had to be responded to. It delayed the whole process, and eventually there were lawsuits and different things, and it's all being settled here this year. We're excited for the future of it. We're excited for them to break ground and for the future employment opportunities on the Revolution Fuels. I mean, its name speaks of itself in the sense that it's taken a process and it's taken a byproduct of what we normally do with coal, and it's turning it into a more efficient fuel that can be used in jets, that can be used as diesel fuel, and it has less emissions than what you can currently buy at the pump. So it's actually better for our environment.
Great. And when can people expect them to break ground? When can they expect jobs to be coming from that?
You know, sometime later this year.
Yes.
Yes, that's
There's always
that's the
some
rough
hiccups
answer.
as you go along.
No, it's definitely expected to happen this year, and there'll be about 60 full-time, well-paid jobs,
And
just to begin with.
I was going to say, it's
not to
gonna grow
mention the
from there,
construction.
right?
I mean, there'll be a couple hundred individuals employed for the build-out and the construction, everything like that.
And how long is a build-out and construction?
You know, it could take a year and a half, 2 years.
So it could provide great work for our local companies as well. And then from those 60 jobs, hopefully they just plan to go from there, right?
There is the potential they could grow their facility and add on to the units that they have there, and could have as many as 200 jobs that are full-time local individuals.
Well, that's certainly an exciting number. What else can people expect?
So the same folks that are renovating the JCPenney building.
Yes.
It's going to be a consortium of businesses, and one of the business opportunities there's been a private donor who's put up over $2 million to help veterans.
Wow.
Now, when I say help veterans, there's going to be a vet tech, that's what they're calling it, and it's going to be a career pathway of sorts. They're going to teach, and we're going to start with maybe a dozen or so of our local veterans. We're going to help them get the education and training to be kind of like a data analyst / fraud prevention expert.
Okay.
And so these the types of employers who are participating, who are wanting to hire these individuals remotely in rural Utah, we've got Dell, we've got Symantec, we've got, you know, some of these big tech names that you see all over the place, interested in hiring people from our local community and specifically veterans.
Wow.
So
that would be great for this area.
The thing that we're really focused on and it's centric in our conversations is, if we were to compare prosperity to a three-legged bar stool, so to speak, when the right people get the proper training and have the opportunity, they are successful.
Yes.
And then we have prosperity. So we have people here.
Yes.
We have people who are unemployed. If we can get them the proper education and training and then connect them with an opportunity, then we'll all be prosperous here, and we'll retain a lot more than 11 to 14% of our high school graduates.
Of course, because a lot of people want to stay here.
Yes.
People, I think, certainly a higher percentage than those that do want to stay here, but if there's no opportunity, I mean, everyone has to make a living, and if it's not here, unfortunately, they're leaving the area. So certainly exciting things happening, trying to flip that statistic. Who else was in on this meeting?
We had Senator David Hinkins, and he was definitely pivotal in the conversation. We had Mike McKee, who's the executive director of the 7-County Infrastructure Coalition. And we had Chancellor Joe Peterson from USU Eastern. We had Ryan Murray, the director of the Small Business Development Center, and also the Carbon County Chamber president.
Yes.
Chamber of Commerce president. We had Mayor Corianos, and we had the 3 commissioners. And in addition, because typically they limit it to 10 people to represent your area, but we also had Dr. Laura Nelson from the Office of Energy Development, who isn't from our county, but definitely represents the interests of our county and was there to support.
Well, it sounds like it was a great meeting. We're going to touch on it a bit more. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and talk more about the economic development in Carbon County and what the plans are. So stick around. We'll be back in a few minutes on Inside Eastern Utah.